again, guys. So this is today's proper video. I thought, especially for you, I would match my shirt to my wallpaper for style purposes. Today we will eventually get on to actually playing the bass, but the last really important part to cover before we get on to the playing lessons is how to actually hold the bass. Now, a lot of people, when they start out, and even when they've been playing for a while, will still be asking questions about the right way to play a bass, or how to hold a bass. And the very basic answer is that there isn't a right way as such. The slightly more complex answer to that is play it how it's comfortable for you. Now, everybody is a different size, different shape. We've got different proportions. You might have longer or shorter arms, and this all affects how is best to hold a bass. So really all I can give you on this one are some basic guidelines, and I think this is fairly universal when people ask this question, that this is the best sort of starting point as far in terms of guidelines go. So if you're sat down with the bass on your lap, it'll sit at this sort of position. Some people prefer it on this leg. I don't particularly feel that's comfortable for me, but give it a try, and that's the sort of more classical guitar approach to playing the instrument. I prefer it this side, where it tucks in under the ribs like this, and as you work up the neck, if you move it outwards, then you have that access still. Now, that's fine for sitting down. Now, if you like to stand playing the bass, which I do generally when I'm practicing and when I'm performing, obviously you're going to have it on a strap. Now, sideline on this point, I would heartily recommend when playing the bass, get a good wide strap. Padded is even better, but the bass is a physically heavy instrument, and there are some different straps that will go over 2 shoulders, or even some that's attached around your waist. But your standard, off-the-shelf guitar strap will be one that sits pinned onto the top horn of the guitar here and the back of the body here, and that puts all the weight over one shoulder and some down your back. Now, that is not a natural position for weight to be on your body, so you want to distribute that weight as well as you can. Now, this is I believe, a 3-inch wide padded strap. Now, that's pretty good. I'm currently actually looking into even wider straps, sort of 4 inches or low, so that weight is distributed over even more of you. And that just means that there's a minimal amount of stress on your shoulder and on your back when you're playing. And you may not notice it at first, but after you start playing for a few years, this starts building up, and you really want to avoid having that tension in your back and your shoulder, as it will cause problems later on. So, good, solid, wide, padded strap, comfortable as possible. Doesn't have to be plain black. You can be less boring and get something fancy. There's a lot of variations out there. This one's a Levy's one. I'm currently looking into a company called Minotaur Straps in Greece, which do great quality straps for not too much money. But there's lots of variations out there. There's ones called Comfort Straps, which are more sort of foam padded. Really worth doing a little bit of research and finding something that's within your price bracket, of course, but as supportive as possible. Now, in terms of fitting the strap to you, again, where it's comfortable for you when you're standing, but as a basic starting guideline, attach the strap and fit it so that when you stand up, the bass stays roughly in the same position as when you're seated down. Okay, so if you look at the position of my hands here, when I stand up, and I'm going to disappear off camera a little bit here, when I stand up, the position of my hands does not change much, if at all. And that's what I try and set all my guitars and basses and everything up to do, so that whether I'm sitting down or I'm standing, I can play and I know where my positioning is going to be. It's as comfortable as it can be for me. Now, as I said at the beginning, everybody's a slightly different shape, size, length of arms, everything. So you got to start as a use that as a starting point, but then vary it according to how it's comfortable for you. But the basic principle behind this is it's not about what looks coolest. You know, everyone knows slinging it down by your knees is cool. That's the rock and roll thing. Wearing it all the way up here might be the jazz thing to do, you know, if that's your style. But both of these has really big disadvantages. We'll get on to right hand, left hand techniques in a later video, but the basic principle is that I don't want any additional tension in either one of these hands. So where I may sling it really far down and grab my knees, what that will do, great for this hand. This hand's nice and straight, can play around freely. But this hand, as it gets lower and lower, the angle of my wrist gets bigger and bigger, and you know, that starts restricting the movement of my fingers. Likewise, if I wear it too high, great for this hand, but the angle of this hand starts crunching up over here. Now, where this causes a problem with the movement of the tendons within your hands, you want a nice fluid line from your hands and up your arm. If you start bending over these, you're starting to restrict the movements of those tendons. Now, at best, that's just going to mean that you won't be able to play as well as you could do. But at worst, over time, that's really going to cause some internal damage in your hands. And, you know, ultimately, I mean, you may not be able to continue playing. It's going to cause pain and discomfort in your hands. And, you know, you really don't want to do that. So, like I said, find the comfort point for you. For me, it's around that sort of point. It's, you know, keeps working for me, so I stick with it. But you want to avoid too much of that sort of movement. You want nice, fluid lines in your arms. That's my 2 pence on the subject. So, you know, play around with it, get it strapped on, and, you know, into position. And I promise, at the beginning of next week, we will start actually playing the instrument. We'll see you soon.